I landed a six-figure hedge fund analyst role straight out of university without going to a target school. And in this video, I'm giving you my entire blueprint to do the same. You'll get my CV, the emails I sent, the resources I used, and finally, a bonus tip that literally nobody ever talks about when it comes to breaking into buy-side firms. My name is Burak. I've worked at 2 different hedge funds as an investment analyst here in London, and now I'm currently working as a quant trader at a high-frequency trading firm. And for full transparency, my starting salary was £106,000. That's base plus bonus, and this is exactly how I did it. During A-levels, I unfortunately missed the grades that I was hoping to get to secure the universities that I wanted to go into. So unfortunately, I had to go through clearing. I was lucky enough to still land a Russell Group university, but it was no means the university that I wanted to go into. I went to study Aerospace Engineering at Queen's University, Belfast. And the only reason I picked engineering was because I thought it pays a lot at the time. Anyway, first year rolls around and I quickly realized that engineering isn't for me. So I look around to see what kind of careers are out there that I might be interested in. And I finally land on finance. And at the time, there was no one really at Queen's talking about insight events, but I found online resources from LSE students, etc., talking about how important it is to secure insight week at large investment banks and so on. So I end up applying to a bunch of these insight weeks. And as you can probably guess if you're watching this video, I landed in nothing, which basically meant the summer of my first year, I spent doing nothing. I downloaded LinkedIn and just basically networked. Now second year rolls around, and this time I wanted to be a bit more strategic. So my main concern was that my CV had no real target education. So I wanted to focus on that for my second year of summer. But what I did is I focused on research internships at universities, hoping that it could basically cover up the fact that I went to a non-target for my undergraduate. So I searched online loads of research internships, and I finally found one offered by University of Oxford. It was a program called Unique Plus. It was basically a program that was aimed at undergraduate students to do research at University of Oxford if they get accepted. And if they do well and they want to continue, they can start a PhD or a postgraduate, like a master's degree at the university. So I apply and end up getting accepted. So I spend the second summer of my undergraduate studies at Oxford doing research. And now I felt like I had a stronger CV going into third year. Third year rolls around. I apply to large institutional investment banks again. As you can probably guess, it's straight rejections. There is not even an interview. So at that point in my third year, I realized that no matter how good the CV is, it's just not getting through to these investment banks. So what I tried to do is get creative in how I could get my CV into the hands of people that would actually see it. So what I decided to do is focus on firms that I'm very much interested in, but are small enough that there's no HR department, so my CV might actually get through. So I decided to apply for hedge funds, as the size of hedge funds fluctuates quite a bit. You have smaller ones and then larger ones. The larger ones, I kind of expected the same outcome, like a rejection, but I thought the smaller ones might actually give me a chance, but I didn't know how to find them. And what I did was quite creative, and in my opinion, it was a really smart move, or I guess really stupid that it became kind of smart, is I decided to find them just like how you'd find like a restaurant, basically using Google Maps. So what I did is I went onto Google Maps, opened up an area of London which I knew had a lot of these institutions. Obviously in your case, if you're in like New York, it might be different. But in London, there's an area called Mayfair. There's a lot of these firms. And so I literally typed in hedge funds, and most of them come up as like asset managers, capital, partners, etc. At the time, I didn't know what those were. Anyway, I Google and I realized those are hedge funds. And so now I'm like, okay, this is great. I take a list of all their names and go onto their LinkedIn. Then I look at how many employees there are and if there's anyone that works in HR. And then I focus on the ones which don't have HR departments. Then I would go on their website and search for either investor relations or contact, and disclaimer, probably don't email investor relations, but I was pretty desperate at the time. So I was just trying to get my CV seen any which way. And then I would basically send a cold email and attach my CV and ask if they would be open to give me an internship. All of the resources I'm going to include in the next section, but let me finish the story. So then I send a bunch of these emails at the start of my third year, and there was no real responses at the time, couple rejections, but that's when I knew that at least I was getting seen, because I was getting rejected by real people rather than an automated email. So as my third year was coming towards an end, I decided that I didn't want to leave academia and still continue to improve my CV. So I applied for a master's degree at Imperial College London to study computer science. I get accepted, And then I also don't want to waste the summer between starting my master's and finishing my undergraduate. So then I decide to still do research. I get accepted at UCL to do research within their computer science department. So summer rolls around, and during that period, whilst I'm doing research, I'm still cold emailing. And finally, one place gives me an interview, which then turns into an offer. And then I decide to quit my internship at UCL to start that position during that summer. And that's how I landed my first hedge fund internship. And then finally, after I finish Imperial, I do the same tactic again and land my first graduate position. Let's get to the resources. Somewhere on the screen, I'm going to put the exact CV and email I used, which landed me my first position. The CV is pretty basic, so let's tackle that first. What you really want to do when it comes to applying to anywhere is to keep it as simple as possible. So there's not much to really learn from this. It's pretty much all the same tactics you'll find from most videos. Keep it short, concise, one page, and no clutter, just straight to the point, look as professional as possible. It's pretty much that simple. There is not too much that goes into creating a good CV. So the email is the main part, and there is something that I didn't include at the time because I didn't know, but I'm going to tell you exactly what you should add to drastically improve this email. So let's get started. It needs to be very short. It needs to be 3 sentences, just like you see mine. The first sentence, basically who you are. Secondly, why you're emailing them. And then thirdly, now this is key. In the third sentence, you're going to hint to the second attachment, which I don't have, which I'm going to explain. Your first attachment should obviously be your CV. Now the second attachment is going to be a financial model plus an equity research report. And the reason you're going to do that is because you are going to prove to them straight from the beginning that you can do the internship. The reason hedge funds don't hire straight graduates coming out of university, and instead they expect you to do 2 years at an investment bank before coming into the buy side. And the reason for that is because then you're trained into how to financial model and how the financial ecosystem works in general. But the thing is, the majority of these skills can be self-taught. And I'm going to tell you exactly the type of model and equity research report that a hedge fund would want you to do at the job. So then you can pretty much skip the 2 years and just listen to what I'm about to explain. This is most applicable for long, short equity hedge funds. Obviously, it would differ with hedge funds like Global Macro, etc., but you can focus on a subsection. What you want to build is a 3-statement financial model. What you want to do is go on Google and type in how to build a financial statement model. There will be lots of tutorials. You can search YouTube, ChatGPT, etc. Then you need to pick a stock that you want to go long or short. It doesn't matter. What you want to do is go onto that firm's website, go into investor relations, then you'd find all their financial reportings, quarter by quarter, annual, everything. What you want to do is download all those reports and then open up the tutorial and follow that tutorial to build a 3-statement financial model using those financial statements. You're basically going to build this 3-statement model using the 3 statements: the income statement, the cash flow statement, and the balance sheet. What it basically looks like is combining all of these statements into a single model to give you an insight into the financial health of that company. You'll basically be doing historical data, so that's all the stuff that the company reports. Then you'd be making a forecast into the future. Obviously, you're going to learn how to do that, as I described using Google. Finally, after you build this model, what you want to do is write a single page equity thesis. And the way you're going to do this is as follows. Let's say you picked, I don't know, Pandora. So you go into Pandora's news. You can use ChatGPT, you can use other resources online to basically find recent news about Pandora. So let's say Pandora changed its interior design of its shops, or they did something else, or they collaborated with a different company, etc., etc. Then what you want to do is support those news and research around that company. So this will be qualitative research, and then you're going to support the financial model. Let's say the financial model shows a very healthy outlook into the future when it comes to their finances. Then you support it using these news and other reasons for why it's created an advantageous point within the industry that it operates in. So then you're going to compare that stock to industry. So if it's Pandora, you'd compare it to its industry. If it's like a real estate company, you'd obviously compare it to that. If it's like an agricultural company, you'd compare it to that, etc., etc. Then you're going to basically write a single page thesis supporting the financial statement, then giving your opinion on that stock, whether to go long and short, and finally concluding it with why you should long this stock and then a time frame. So you want to say, due to these news, etc., and its competitive advantage, there is a catalyst coming up within the industry or within the company itself. So use the words like there is a catalyst. This is a common term within hedge funds. And then you're basically going to say, in the next 3 months, I expect it to be, and then give a range. So if it's a long, so what is its current price of that stock? Then you'd say in 3 months, my prediction is between this range, which basically means it's currently undervalued, etc. This will be pretty much exactly what you do on the job, and it proves to them that you pretty much are way ahead of anyone that's even close to you in second or third year. This is going to create the most incredible advantage you can ever imagine when it comes to cold emailing. The thing is, these firms are not looking to not hire you. They just have no reason to hire you. And that's what you need to pick. They do not care who you are. They care about themselves, just like anything else. And you are selling yourself to them because you can provide value. You can do the job at a very young age, which means they can train you exactly how they need you to be trained for that strategy and that portfolio manager. And now finally, the bonus tip. Most university students that are trying to break into buy-side firms like hedge funds focus on the idea of working at the investment banking division of an investment bank or sales and trading, etc. I'm going to tell you why that is the wrong approach to try and break in. And there is a much better approach outside of cold emailing. Firstly, the trading of a hedge fund, they're just execution traders. They're not the people who generate P&L. What you want to become at a hedge fund is a portfolio manager. That is the person who generates P&L. And the first step to becoming that is an investment analyst. Now, the skill set, as I just kind of described, is equity research. So when it comes to applying to larger institutions, that is great. If you can go and work at Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, etc., that's going to look wonderful on your CV. However, the investment banking division isn't actually the most applicable skill set when it comes to breaking into a hedge fund. It's actually the equity research division. So when you become an investment analyst at a hedge fund, you will be working directly with equity research analysts on the sell side firms like investment banks. So you'll be using their reports, etc. You'll be digesting and synthesizing all that information, and they'll be basically doing the exact same job that you're doing. So if you go to a non-target university, or even if you go to a target university, I would actually recommend you to try and break into equity research division of an investment bank, because there you will get two things. Firstly, the skill set of actually equity modeling is the exact thing that you'll be doing at a hedge fund, and most analysts actually come from this route. And secondly, you will be networking directly with the investment analysts at hedge funds. This is an absolute no-brainer. So if you can break into that department, which usually gets less applications compared to the investment bank and sales and trading, you are actually in a more prime position to make it into a hedge fund. Anyway, that's everything from me for today. If you have any questions about anything that I spoke about, let me know in the comments. Take care.